Yo, we're back from London town with our boy with the hot news, Billy Body. What you got? Boom.
Yeah, so I have one story this week, and it's come out of it's come out of like people being wrong about it all throughout the week. You probably even know what it is. So, did you see the promo that Reigns cut in New Jersey? Was it in New Jersey where he said that he wouldn't see them for a long time or whatever? So, off the back of that, Joe, have you got that? Like that last minute that the main bit that he said? That should be easy to find.
Yeah.
I would assume if you're watching the show that you know what it is, but just in case.
We'll edit it in afterwards. You know what he said.
Do you want me to play it or no?
I know what he said. We know what he said. Play it and post edit. We'll come out of it like we just heard it. So go ahead.
Got it.
Okay. So that got the dirt sheets talking. First up was Dave Meltzer, of course. He came out with a story that Roman Reigns has signed a new contract, which got me which piqued my interest because I knew that wasn't true. So we see this a lot now. I understand some of you have a relationship with him and are friends with him. Like, I'm not burying him for being a bad guy or or anything like that, but he's a liar because he's continuously sees something that happens in a storyline or sees some sort of development, and he immediately comes in and has a story. Now, if he does that with AEW, he has a direct contact to the company. His WWE record is falling way under 20%. It's generous to say that he's 20% correct. He immediately blurts out that, Reigns signed a new contract and he's not going to do as many dates. That's not what happened at all. And later on through the week, I'm trying to get to this show, stupidly hoping that nobody picks up the right story, because then you have all the dirt sheets quoting Dave. I don't know why they keep doing this. In sports, if somebody is wrong, even 50% of the time, they're discredited. There's been journalists in MMA and NFL that have been discredited, and you don't hear them anymore. But for somehow, this guy can keep getting away with it all the time. And this story was a story. And then towards the end of the week, we had some guys saying, "Oh, he's signed a new deal that means that he doesn't have to do little house shows." None of this is true. There's no new deal. So to run it back, and I hope people make a note, at least a mental note of this, because it seems like I have to do this every 6 months. So Shield contracts, when we're looking at Rollins, Ambrose, and Roman Reigns, they all were running pretty much at the same time. All three of the guys came in at the same time in November 2012, and they were on 3-year deals, but obviously they were so high profile that halfway into that deal, which is the weekend of WrestleMania 30, they were given 5-year contracts for $2 million each, right? So they were given $2 million each on WrestleMania 30 weekend, and they were given 5-year deals. Expiration date of all of the deals was after WrestleMania 35, okay? So the first person that entered into contract negotiations and signed was Seth Rollins just before 2019, okay? So Rollins is done. He signed for $3 million, okay? The next person they entered into contract negotiations with was Dean Ambrose. Dean Ambrose did not sign. Dean Ambrose was not offered as much as Seth, but when he refused to sign, the final offer to stop him leaving, with the WWE having no idea that he was going to AEW or that AEW was going to be a big deal, was a $3 million contract as well, which was a match of Seth Rollins. He refused it because Tony Khan was offering him $5 million. So that's why he left. So everybody can turn around and go, "Oh yeah, Mox left because WWE creative sucked and he wanted to be his own guy or whatever." Maybe he did, but he was also getting $2 million more to leave, right? So are you following everything so far with all these contracts? All right. So the reason why Roman's negotiations were late is because Roman Reigns suffered a suspension because he tested positive for something. And then he also...
I'd forgotten about that. About that. Yeah, right.
So he missed it. He was a month out, and then he had a 7-month layoff for the leukemia thing. So as Conan knows from being friends with Ray, when WWE contracts come up for renegotiation, you owe them the time that's left on the contract, because if you take any time out, even if it's for a sickness like that, sickness, injury, whatever, you still have to make the time up. So there was no negotiation with Roman. When he came back from leukemia. He still owed dates, but they wanted to enter into negotiations early, which they did towards the end of 2019. Now, he signed a provisional deal. Now, this is the complicated bit because normally you sign a contract that replaces your contract, but the contract that was to begin on April 1st, 2020 was to be a contract as the WWE champion with an increase of dates and whatnot. So initially when he came in, there was a post-leukemia schedule that he worked to see how he was. And then afterwards, there was going to be an increase. Then we had a whole thing with the pandemic. So it essentially voided that contract. And when Roman Reigns came in the summer, they talked with him again about restructurizing the contract. Now, he did sign his contract and he did restructure that contract, which expires in 2025. But the deal was once they went back to my thing's popping up here. Once they went back to touring, there was discussions of Roman Reigns that, look, we're going to hit this touring schedule really, really hard. We really want to get back on track with the touring. We cannot do it without you. Will you please work the house shows from July until the end of WrestleMania, which includes the European tour? That's why Roman Reigns was in London, and that's why Roman Reigns was in Paris, even to the point where Roman Reigns took his wife to Paris, took his wife to London and Paris. He left London after the show at 10:30 at night, got on a private flight to Paris so that he could spend some time with his wife. And the WWE even cut that short because he needed to be on Raw on Monday because he was supposed to be with his wife for 3 days celebrating an anniversary. So now, after doing all of that for them and doing all this extra time, he's now going back to the contract that he signed. He's now going back to having some time off. He's now going to miss the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. So to go back and to re-summarize that, he signed a 5-year deal when he came back. He was supposed to have a 5-year deal from April, but obviously the pandemic hit. When he came back, he structurized that deal to be more part-time. So he did that part-time deal up until July. They spoke to him and said, hey, look, we want to do this. Can you take it? Can you take one for the team for like the next 10 months? And he said, yeah, I'll do it for 10 months. And that's it. The 10 months is over.
Because the pandemic slowed everything down. So he kind of like it would. Yeah. So you're just going through a calendar year.
We need to kickstart a house show. Yeah, that's right.
Right. Yeah. So now when the house shows are starting again, even though he's on a part-time deal, they say, hey, look, we gave you the part-time deal, but you got way more of your part-time off than you should have because of pandemic. So now we're asking you to just backload some of your stuff and do some makeup for us, basically, which you did. Is that accurate?
Well, I mean, there was financial compensation for him doing more dates because obviously, right. I mean, the merch is off the hook. We talked about a $1.7 million figure alone last week. I mean, this guy's gonna come so close to beating Steve Austin's year in '98 this year. Like really? Real close. Yeah, real close. Like it's gonna be. I mean, he's gonna surpass some of the Cena numbers. And the thing is with Cena. Cena was selling a lot of stuff, but like some of the stuff that Cena was selling was under $7. It's different kind of stuff to Steve. Steve was straight out t-shirt, this t-shirt, new t-shirt, new t-shirt. Everybody had the t-shirt. He also had like some high end stuff as well with leather jackets that were like $144. So Cena didn't really have that. Like he had a spinner title, which he was making money off, which he had a cut of as well. But obviously, then the other people had the titles. So yeah, when we talk about when they talk about record numbers, they talk about Cena and Austin. When they talk about Austin, they talk about revenue. When they talk about Cena, they talk about like quantity. So it's different. Like one's a king of quantity, and one is the king of like revenue. So, but one is Target and one is Saks Fifth Avenue. Basically, I don't know what those shops sell. I know what Target is. Yeah, I know what Target is.
Target's bargain shopping, and Saks Fifth is expensive, or Saks Fifth Avenue. So that's basically so now Roman's going to have time off. Roman's
going back to his part-time deal. He's not going to be on every pay-per-view. He's not at the Hell in a Cell. So you're going to rely on Rollins and Cody to carry that. I think it's in the main event, and then also like coming up, like it's not a given that he's going to be in the UK for that. Clash at the Castle. I mean, that could be Tyson Fury and Drew McIntyre. I imagine he'll be at SummerSlam. I imagine he'll be at Money in the Bank. But yeah, I mean, this reign is going to be a case of him fighting the big money matches on pay-per-view. So you're still going to go into the match with Randy Orton. You're still going to do a match with Drew McIntyre. You might be able to get something out of Matt Riddle. You still haven't faced Bobby Lashley. When people are going, oh, when is this going to end or whatever, he doesn't have to end. He still has. He's never faced. He hasn't had a clean finish with Rollins. He hasn't faced Cody. He hasn't faced McIntyre yet. He hasn't faced Randy Orton. He hasn't faced Bobby Lashley. These are like 5 of your top guys. So there's loads and loads and loads to run with this. When he beats The Rock at WrestleMania 39, he can carry on after that as well. There's even an idea out there where he can defend 2 titles on 2 nights and main event WrestleMania 2 nights in a row, which is going to take a big on Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch when they have to open up night 1.
But that's too far away to even talk about WrestleMania.
Yeah, but I mean, there is ideas like floating about. But you saw like how protected he was. Like there, so I was going to do one story, but like looking back at this pay-per-view this past week, the whole week, the idea is that okay, Roman hasn't lost for over 2 years, 2.5 years, so we can pin him in this match because we need to make a credible opponent. And then you get to the pay-per-view, and Ronda Rousey and Charlotte are not in the main event, even though they were supposed to be, and the build up to it, like the weeks leading up to it. But the decision was made that McIntyre was going to pin Roman, and then show day comes along. Ronda and Charlotte are still in the 4th match. And the decision's made that, we can't beat Roman, not even in a 6-man tag. So they're really, really like protective of him. So this week about him leaving and going to Hollywood, I have no doubt he'll go to Hollywood. I have no doubt that Nick Khan has already like put all that in place. But the difference between The Rock and Roman Reigns is going to be is that WWE will actually manage this. They will not let his contract lapse like they did with The Rock in 2000.
Roman's problem is with Hollywood is they already have a Roman Reigns, the guy that played Aquaman.
Yes.
He looks like Roman looks just like the guy. It's like, what's he going to do? Be body double for that guy? Like, what's the guy's name? Jason Momoa? What's his name?
Yeah,
Momoa.
Yeah. What? Yeah. So that's it for the wrestling. I want to talk about some sports. Is that it? It's all you got for the wrestling, right? That one story.
That's what I want to do here. Like, I want to like put some stuff on the Informer this week as well.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Dude, I got so much on YouTube this week again. Like, I'm like these guys are like, oh, you're a mark. Oh, you're waiting for wrestlers and
bro, don't worry about it.
Those guys.
Did anything I say last week when I was talking to you guys sound like I was waiting around and chasing after wrestlers in a hotel?
No.
But see, the fact that you sell this gives them ammunition to keep.
Right.
You're actually giving them the bullets to put in the gun, bro. Don't sell it.
You're like Bobby Heenan. They'll say something about you, you'll be like, "Oh, there you go." You cut promos there.
What the hell is even that?
People cut promos
That
on Billy
chill.
on YouTube, and Billy has to cut the promos back on him.
Yo, what up? This is Conan, and I host Keeping It 100. My co-host Disco Inferno. Unfortunately,
Well, I'd say you're my co-host.
listen. Every Thursday here on Spreaker, we talk pro wrestling, sports, movies, music, TV, pop culture, and some politics. It's everything the rest of the pro wrestling podcasts are not.
Tune in to hear myself, the superior one, educate and inform.
Tune in to hear me bury Disco.
That's very disrespectful.
Join us every Thursday on Spreaker and keep it 100. Boom!